Vlog. Yeah, so in today's vlog, it's a bit of an interesting one. This time last week, I went down to London, and I went down to London for the reason that I was checking out the F1 esports scene. I want to say a big thank you to the guys over there, you know, working behind the scenes for inviting me and coming out. It was a great time. There's a few other people there, 3 of the YouTubers that you might recognize, F1 YouTube like Arava, and then Theo was there. It was a really cool opportunity to go to, and this was my first exposure to esports, and that's kind of what this vlog is going to be all about. So, leading up to the event, I really didn't know what to expect. I am not big into esports, really, to be honest, and I'm being completely honest when I'm saying that. I've seen bits here and there. For some of you guys who know who've been following the channel for a while may know that I did follow a lot of Rainbow Six Siege not too long ago, and I kept my eye on it, but for the most part, Rainbow Six Siege is like, I could not relate to the level of those guys, of what they were playing at. The level of skill and teamwork they were playing at is just, I could not implement that in my game. So when I saw people doing this, I was never ever like, I don't know what's going on at this point. I played a game, I have no clue. A lot of my friends play games like Rocket League, Overwatch, CSGO, and even with all that kind of stuff, I just never really got into it as much. Then Forza came around, and I know Forza do their Forza, you know, competitive league. I've seen a bit of that on Forza Monthly on stream, and I kind of started to pay a bit more attention. F1 is always being retweeted on my timeline, the esports stuff. It's always been retweeted on my timeline, so it's one of those things I always saw it, but never really got into. After this event, I honestly, my opinion has completely changed. Apparently this was on TV, it was all over Facebook, it was streamed through proper F1 teams, and basically I'm kind of going to explain what the actual tournament is and what the competition is, and how serious this is actually getting. So I believe every F1 team that is actually competing in actual F1 is in the esports kind of scene, other than Ferrari. Of course Ferrari aren't in it, it just doesn't surprise me. Each team has at least minimum 1 driver, with some of them having 2. I believe Red Bull had 2, I believe Mercedes had 2, and it's basically F1 but esports. So the drivers will compete, and I believe it's around 9 or 10 races, you know, same point system, you know, as F1, same penalty system, everything is very much the same. It's literally just an esport. They kept banging on about this one guy called Brandon Lee. He was the best guy, and keep in mind, for me, for someone who like isn't really kind of exposed to all this stuff, you know, it was really weird going in, and like the kind of landscape was already shaped. With sports, like athletic sports, it's one of those things, I've kind of always known what the landscape is, but when you enter something like an esport, you don't really know what the landscape is, and it ended up getting like, it was all a bit overwhelming because so many things were happening, and some people already have reputations, and obviously I know Link in my head, so I was thinking, oh, this guy must be good. Anyway, after a little bit of traveling, we eventually got to the actual arena, and the actual set and the actual stage was awesome. Seeing the scale of which these guys go to actually, you know, make this a thing is huge. It's absolutely, it was one of those things, like I said, it was low-key a bit surreal to see the scale that this was actually on. We had actual F1 drivers there. There's everything and how everything was done. Really interesting. I was wedged between one of them, or 2 Red Bull people. I think I was wedged between a bunch of Red Bull people. They must have had like some type of stakes or owning in the company or in the gaming side of things, because they were getting hyped. I wish I got video for it, but like, I was literally wedged between 2 people, and they were just screaming their hearts out when in the 3rd race, when the Red Bull guy was neck and neck with Brandon and took the lead and obviously won when it went on to win the 3rd race. I think it was in Baku. Like, it is actually crazy, the scale that people go to. And I guess the question that I'm going to pose in this video is, where do we go from here? Naturally, I'm more of an arcade racing guy. That's just who I am. Obviously, I've got a place for Forza, and to be honest, after seeing all this F1 stuff, I do kind of low-key want to get into F1. At least the gaming side of stuff, not the actual stuff, because I kind of already follow the actual, like, main F1 circuit. But what I'm saying is, what is the future for racing games and esports? If you think about it, it's really obvious, because it's one of those things that really does lend itself well to a sport. A lot of you know, actual competitive and like people who actually race in, say, like Formula 1 or touring cars or whatever, they use simulators. They use games like Assetto Corsa to help out train and stuff. You know, you can't always get out on, you know, the track and, you know, just quickly brush up a few things. You can go on a simulator and do that, and they genuinely have these simulators in their houses. So it makes one of those things where, you know, esports, especially in racing games, definitely has a place. We've already seen it with the more competitive, like I said, F1 and, you know, Assetto Corsa and stuff. But could this one day come over to, say, games like Forza Horizon? Could this come over to games like The Crew 2? Could this come over to games like Need for Speed? I think genuinely it could. I think if you look at The Crew 2, or The Crew 1, sorry, with the Crew 1's original PvP, I was really competitive. And even if you go back to the first live streams they did, those were competitive live streams where there was a bunch of the devs playing against, you know, people who they were invited in to play, and it was really competitive, and it was like literally like watching an early esport in 2014. It was the Route 909 streams for anyone that knows, and it was just one of those things, like going to this event and seeing how much dedication and time and effort is put into this. It genuinely gave me a newfound appreciation for esports. I think overall, I'm still under the mindset of, you know, I'm not good enough to get on this level. I think maybe with the racing, it's a bit more, you know, easy for me to understand because it's cars and, you know, I've gone fast in cars before. As where games like Rainbow and stuff, it's just a different league. Overwatch is a different league, you know. Rocket League is just a different league. But this is something which is a lot more transferable to me. Really interesting to see where this goes, and I can't wait for the next 2 rounds of this F1 esports series. At the moment, it's looking really, really interesting, and yeah, the next one's on the 31st, and I believe the one after that is at sometime in November, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I can go to the final in November, because it's definitely going to be something which I'm going to keep my eye on, regardless if I'm going, because it was genuinely a really interesting experience. This video is mainly kind of about you guys. Open up your eyes if you haven't, you know, messed around with esports yet. It's one of those things. I kind of was under that. I'm just like, I've just never got into it. Like, there's no like I never judged it or anything. It's just one of those things. I've just never got into it, and it wasn't until I actually got invited to an event myself where I was like, you know what, this is actually a bit lit. Like, this is actually a bit sick. Give it a go. It's a bit crazy. Like I said, this is being streamed and broadcast everywhere. Apparently, we were on Sky Sports. Well, that was pretty mad. Or Sky, I think it might be one of the Sky channels. Yeah, that's pretty crazy to think that this is now getting on a bit of a bigger scale, and all of this shit is really getting serious. Anyway, that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this little vlog thing. I'm trying to get better at these. I don't really do many of these that often because I'm not really invited to a lot of things that often, but when I do go to things like this, I do usually like to cover it just because it's a bit different. Tomorrow it'll be Underground 2, I promise. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to go ahead and hit the like, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. You guys have an awesome day, safe, and peace.